the word trespass, right? It comes from the Hebrew word avar, meaning to like cross a boundary. So yes, so this idea, right? It's like the conceptual idea is you as a person, there's like a certain amount of space that is allotted to you. And to trespass means to you cross that boundary, right? You overstep the boundary of what is allotted to you. So like when right in the Lord's Prayer, when we say, forgive us, right? Forgive us our trespasses, even as we forgive those who trespass against us, right? It's this idea, right? It's like as we're going through life, we're constantly stepping outside of our bounds, right? Into other people's territory. And that's wrong, right? Like we need to be forgiven for that. And people are constantly stepping on right over our boundaries, and people need to be forgiven for that, right? The reason why I think why I get kind of so excited about this, right, is because it connects all the way back to the flood story, right? When God, the way the primeval history of Genesis depicts the thing that is fundamentally wrong with the world, right? Uh, it's violence, right? It's like that's the thing, right? And what is violence really? Well, violence is it's it's overstepping your space, right? Usually we think about that in a physical way, although it doesn't necessarily have to be physical. It can be any number, emotional, it can be verbal, it can be any number of ways that we might overstep our space. Um, but that's right. It's like right from a narrative standpoint, fundamentally that's the thing that we as humans we can't do, right? It's like we just can't stay in our lane. um yeah, so right, it's like I think right for us as Christians reading this material, right? Like it's kind of a blade that cuts two ways in some ways, right? It's like I read Leviticus and I'm like, "Oh my goodness. Thank the Lord for Jesus." Right? I don't actually have to do all this stuff anymore, right? Once for all, it's done, right? And yet at the same time, there's like you read this material and it's like, "Holy cow," right? It's like all this all this stuff um that all the stuff that had to be done um simply for a stay of execution, right? It's like so it's like challenging, right? It's like, oh man, like God really does take this sin stuff seriously. Right? It's like uh you know um you really shouldn't uh cross over the boundaries that God has, given to you as his creature, right? As his person, child made in the image of God. Um there really are boundaries on your behavior, and if you yeah, and it's like it's serious business. It's not this is right this life in relationship with God. It really isn't you can just do whatever you want. It's yeah, there are obligations to living in covenant with God.